Hey everybody, welcome back to the Behavior Revolution Scriptures. We're going to talk about subjection today, and it's all about the monarchy and dominion, and King Saul is about to be inaugurated as the new king of Israel. He's just proved himself to a lot of the tribes that were doubting him by getting rid of King Nachash, who was coming to attack Jabesh. Remember all that family ties and connections that were going on last episode? Well, now, if you look at your screen, he's going to be coronated as the new king officially. I mean, Saul's already anointed him, but it was kind of a quiet one-on-one affair. There's a lot of people coming against it, not accepting it. Well, now he's proved himself, and it's time to make it official. So, subjection, Samuel chapter 12. Saul is now the first official king of Israel. They are now in submission to his dominion, at their choosing, of course. It's their choice. So here we see a blood covenant renewal ceremony of sorts, because a new government is forming, which means the way Yahusha administers justice, his dominion, will now be through a monarch instead of random tribal judges. And after this event, Sam will no longer be Israel's political leader, but only their prophet and a voice to the throne. So he'll have some influence. He'll be a voice, but he won't. Everybody won't be. All 12 tribes won't be looking to him as their singular leader. They'll be looking to Saul now to lead them and guide them. Good luck. So let's go. They'd all gathered together, and Sam told the Israelites, "You all asked for a king, and now I've given you one. You happy? I'm out, just like you wanted. You've all seen how I've led and guided you since I was a young man. Well, guess what? I'm not young anymore. My hair is grey, and my sons are now grown up. So now it's time to see how well your new king will lead you. Let me ask you, have I ever taken anyone's ox or donkey or forced you to give me anything? Have I ever hurt anyone or taken a bribe to give an unfair decision? Come on, don't be shy now. Speak up. Answer me so that Yahuwah and his new anointed king can hear you. Because if any of you think I've done this, I'll happily give it all back. Yisrael, you've made it crystal clear that I'm not good enough to lead you. You've given me the old heave-ho, but just remember, I never twisted your arm and made you whinge and whine for a king, did I? No, you've never cheated us or twisted our arm in any way, said Yisrael. Well, Yahuwah and his chosen king are witnesses to what you've just said. That's true, they replied. Then Samuel told them, Yahuwah your Elohim brought your ancestors out of Egypt and chose Moses and Aaron to be your leaders. Now Yahuwah himself will be your judge. So stand still and listen. And that's legal terminology there too, where it says stand still and listen. Just like someone would, as one standing trial before a judge, that's what it means. Stand still and listen as one standing trial before a judge, while I remind you how often Yahuwah has delivered you and your ancestors from your enemies. So he's going to make a case. So standing trial before a judge, like a prosecutor in a trial, Samuel begins laying out a case against the Hebrew people and their leaders by outlining their story leading up to this indictment. So it's like just proceeding with, it's like having legal proceedings, he's starting a case against them. And here he goes. After Jacob went to Egypt, your ancestors cried out to Yahuwah for help, and he sent Moses and Aaron. They led your ancestors out of Egypt and had them settle in this land. But your ancestors forgot about Yahuwah, so he let them be defeated by the Philistines, the king of Moab, and Sisera, the commander of Hazor's army. But again your ancestors cried out to Yahuwah for help, saying, We've disobeyed you and fallen away. We stopped serving you, our Yahuwah, and started bowing down to Baal and Ashtart. But now, if you rescue us from our enemies, we'll follow you again. If you will, maybe. So, Yahusha sent Gideon, Eden, Jephthah, and finally myself to rescue you all from your enemies. And then you didn't have to worry about being attacked anymore. Because the current residents of Canaan were born into the era of the judges, Sam mentions some of their recent heroes, all being judges. That's why he's mentioning these guys and not a whole lot of other ones, because these are the guys they would remember because of the generation that they're in. Recent heroes, recent judges. So then you saw that King Nachash of Ammon was going to attack you. And even though Yahusha your Elohim is your king, you told me, this time it's different. We want a real king to rule us. I mean, this wasn't a delusion. Yisrael was being attacked from all sides. The Philistines in the west and the Amorites just recently from the east. This escalating pressure drove them to demand for a king to rally and protect them, instead of trusting and obeying Yahusha. So they had serious literal needs. They were being oppressed and the nations were attempting to conquer them all the time. So they weren't just making it up, their needs. They had them. They were being seriously oppressed. Instead of trusting Yahusha, crying out like Moses and Joshua and all the other guys protected them and had that relationship with Yahusha, no, we want a king like the nations have. If Yahusha's not going to join us, we need to kill him with brute force and be like they are. So then you asked for a king. And in Hebrew, Saul means to ask. And you chose one. Now he stands here where all of you can see him. But it was really Yahusha who made him your king. If you and your king want things to go well for you, then you must follow and serve him and do what he says. Don't be stubborn, because if you're pig-headed and refuse to obey Yahusha, he'll turn against you, your king and your ancestors. And just like any time the blood covenant is raised up or renewed, which this whole speech, this whole legal proceedings is pretty much raising up, renewing a blood covenant, new relationship forming, the consequences, blessings and curses for obedience or disobedience are mentioned also. If you don't obey, you'll be punished. So just stand here and watch Yahusha show you his mighty power. Isn't this the dry season? No rain? The time of wheat harvest? Well, I'm going to ask Yahusha to send a mighty thunderstorm now. And when you see it, you'll realize just how wrong you were to throw me aside and ask for a king, just like the nations have. Pretty angry, isn't he? Old Sam's been given the old heave-ho. Then Sam spoke to Yahusha loudly, and he sent a thunderstorm, and everyone was terrified, saying, "Please speak to Yahusha your Elohim for us. We don't want to die. We know we've been wicked and disobedient in times past, and we were so wrong to ask for a king." And Sam answered, "Even though what you did was evil, you don't need to be afraid. But you must always follow Yahusha and serve him with all of your heart. He doesn't want him to go into a spiral, into a pity party, into a, well, we've done the wrong thing and now we're being punished, so we might as well just continue doing it. What's the point? We're going to get punished anyway, so we might as well just cling to our idols and do whatever the hell we want to do because Yahusha's punishing us anyway. He doesn't want us to go into that spiral. So when they're all starting to have a pity party, he's coming along saying, no, everything we said was true. You were wicked and evil, but you don't need to be afraid. Even though what you did was evil, don't be afraid. You must always follow Yahusha and serve him with all your heart. And for goodness sake, stop worshipping those stupid, worthless idols. They don't have any power. They can't help you or deliver you when you're in trouble. But Yahusha has chosen you to be his own treasured people according to his great name. He will always take care of you, so that everyone will know how great he is. So yes, I'll speak to Yahusha for you, because I'd be disobeying him if I stopped. That's his whole job, that's his whole calling, Samuel, to speak to Yahusha and to hear Yahusha's voice. Back and forward, vice versa, that's his whole job. So of course I'll speak to Yahusha for you, because I'd be disobeying him if I stopped. I will always teach you how to walk right on the good straight path. You must always you also must obey Yahuwah, serving him with all your heart, and remember the great and marvelous things he's done for you. But if you and your king do evil, Yahuwah will wipe you all out. Consider what good things he has done for you. So, Samuel's just giving him a great big speech, kind of like a closing ceremony of sorts. He doesn't do any huge big speeches after this. There's not he's still moving and operating, but this was his last big speech to the whole crowd. So Yisrael had the choice who to be in subjection to, didn't they? Samuel, who'd proved himself, didn't scam them, didn't rip them off, didn't take anything from them, didn't ask for payment to hear Yahusha's voice for you. No, he was kind, he was admirable, he was an upright, obedient man. They had the choice to be in submission to him because he was technically a judge and a prophet, and all the 12 tribes respected him because he'd proved that he could hear Yahusha's voice. Things that he said happened. So they had that choice to be in subjection to him as their ruler or the world. Yisrael had the choice who to be in subjection to, Yahusha or the world, and they chose the world, demanding a human king like the nations. And there's a few funky scriptures here regarding that. Yet, if you persist in doing evil, both you and your king will perish. He said that. You made him to have dominion over the work of your hands. You have put all things under his feet. That's in Psalms. You've made him to have dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under his feet. And here, you have put all things in subjection under his feet. For in subjecting all things to him, he left nothing that is not subject to him. But now we do not yet see all things subjected to him, do we? We don't see much at all subjected to him, do we? Unless you're looking closely and aware of what's going on around you. Yahusha has everything in subjection to him. You have put all things in subjection under his feet. That's the reality of it. And anybody who he chooses to move with, operate in, anoint, he's moving in that situation. Just like he was with Samuel. And what did Yisrael do? Pooh-poohed him and wanted the worldly king to look and feel and, have... Oh, it's mad, isn't it? So let's look at this word subjection. It's exciting again because as I put this up, Christopher's put an article up called Subjection. And so I've just done a whole article about dominion, or the scriptures here are all about dominion and who were they going to choose. And Samuel pretty much got his nose out of joint because they didn't want to choose Yahusha. They'd chosen King Saul. So they want him to be dominant. He's going to have dominion instead of Yahusha. So we've gone all through there talking about dominion, and now we come to subjection. So let's look at this word subjection. In the Hebrew, it is nabash, to tread down, to disregard, to conquer, subjugate, violate, bring into bondage, force, keep under, subdue, bring into subjection, to bend the knee, to humiliate, vanquish, bring down, low, into subjection, under, humble yourself, subdue. So this is just a behavior. And who you choose to have this behavior towards is your choice. But there's only two. There's only two options. There's Yahusha or the world. And who is the prince of the power of the airwaves? Who is the master of the world? Who controls all the walking dead? Ⅎ. So you can either be in subjection to Yahusha or the world. Let's look at the scriptural understanding here. In Genesis 25, Yahuwah said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 people shall be separated from your body. And 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger. Other translations say, will be in subjection. The older will be in subjection to the younger. So, interesting. This is Rebecca, Isaac's wife. And she had Jacob and Esau, remember? 2 nations shall come from your body. One will be in subjection to the other. Satan is very much into subjection. Let's push this point home, guys. Let's make this a reality in your day, in your life. Satan is very much into subjection, and with his demon hordes will absolutely stop at nothing to bring Yahusha's people under subjection to his behavior. Interesting way to put it. Doesn't say under subjection of his doctrine, of his words, of his this, of his that, of his behavior. No matter what group, no matter what banner, no matter what this or that, or behavior. He gets us through the behavior. We show our allegiance, our loyalty, who we're in subjection to through our behavior. He will absolutely stop at nothing to bring Yahusha's people under a certain behavior. The thing people don't realize is that Satan's band is relentless, especially if knocked down with a blow. They will get right back up and come at us from another direction. Better face it. So we have to be vigilant and forge on through these attacks, constantly gaining ground with the power of truth. Remembering the power within us is greater than the power that is in the world. If we don't grasp this wisdom and use it, we will be vanquished and put down into subjection. Do you like being subjected, used, enslaved as Satan's bitch? To be at his, beck and call whenever he wants to use you for something? Do you like it? Your vessel, your body, your temple being used to worship Satan? I've hated it. I hate being a slave to my emotions, to the thoughts that pop into my head like I just have to do it. I've heard it, so I have to do. No. You have to fight, brothers and sisters. They're not going to stop. Look, they're not going to stop. Even if you say no and walk away and conquer that moment, they'll just get you the next moment. Each moment you've got to say no. No. You've got to keep going, getting stronger and stronger, gaining ground with the power of truth. Remember, the power within us is greater than the power that is in this world. This is why Yahusha threw our wickedness as far as the east is from the west. Took it and threw it. Doesn't even remember it anymore. Of course, Satan will always throw our past at us. But we have been delivered from our past, which can no longer stick to us and bring us into Satan's slimy, humiliating bondage of subjection. We have been delivered and set free to do Yahusha's will, while the world is trying to bring everyone into its own subjection. See the two kingdoms, see the two reigns dueling? There are only two types of subjection in this world. Only two types of subjection in this world. One with Satan and the one with Yahusha. The word subjection explained in the Hebrew above describes the treacherous behavior we will be under if we go with Satan. However, Yahusha's subjection is the fruits of obedience and love. So all those words we went through it, bowing the knee, being conquered, subjugate, violated, bring into bondage, force, keep under, all these words that seem hideous and negative, if we apply them and put them to Yahusha and coming under his authority, facing that he is our master and we are his love slaves, if we come into that, it's not treacherous. It's not degrading and depraved. It is the fruits of obedience and love. That's what we come into. That's why he's flogging us, chastising us, goading us, disciplining us, rebuking us, so that we will bring forth the peaceable fruits, of clean, obedient behavior, So that's the message, guys. P.S. It's interesting how both children had different coloured skin. Shows how the original bloodline of Adam and Hawa carried all the different nations within their genes, same as Noah. Shows how racism was not a thing in those days as well. The miracle of birthing different coloured kids was probably exciting and a blessing for the expecting parents. No place for racism there. Not in Israel anyway. I mean, the outside nations were, mad, but you can see that you've got a choice who you're going to be a subject of, who you're going to come into subjection under. Satan, the world, what they want, what they say, who they think you should be, how they think you should look, how they think you should talk, how much money they think you should have, what kind of car, what kind of clothes, what kind of this, what kind of that. Constantly stressed and looking at the world and comparing and all this BS. Or are you a servant? Do you come into subjection to Yahusha? Yisrael had the choice. Samuel, Yahusha's servant, or a worldly representative of who they thought that they think that the king should be. They chose the world's appearance, what they would look like on the global stage of the world, in front of all the nations. We have this same choice, guys, because as you can see, Satan's not going to stop. He's after you big time. So that's it, guys. Stay strong. And just remember, it's daily. It's moment to moment. And you've got to choose what thoughts you're going to listen to. Arrest them all. Check them. Don't just let them flow through you about your brothers, about your sisters, about your wife, about your husband, about your children, about your business, about your job, about everything. You just let thoughts flow through and then wonder why you feel like shit at the end of the day. Because you're a slave. Who are you going to come into subjection under? Go for Yahusha, guys.